Ned joins us just at the heels of the transfer window closing. You want to just start us off with your opening thoughts on it?
Yeah, good morning, obviously, and thanks for joining. We talk about the primary transfer window closing, but it does feel like it's 4 or 5 months of work, obviously, and coming off of the off season, assessing early on in the beginning of the season, and a few moves here towards the end of the window for us. So I think overall, my thoughts and opinions, I'm pleased with the window that we had, the acquisitions that we made, and the moves that we made, and also where we stand now, and the flexibility we have going forward.
We'll open it up to questions.
A lot of incomings this window, and a lot of kind of jumped off the page really early. If any of those young guys sort of even surprised you, somebody like Jimmer Forey come in, at least from a media perspective, we thought he'd be a backup to Claudio Bravo. Now he's an every game starter.
Yeah, I think Jimmer's someone that came in preseason, and almost immediately, within like 1 week, it felt like he had been a teammate and a part of our group for years. He settled immediately. He had a big impact. He played great in preseason. I think we had a lot of things to work through in preseason with some of the injuries that we had. And he's someone that sort of just slotted in immediately, made an impact. He's a player that we had looked at and followed for a little bit of time, and we felt like he also helped us in some areas last season where we were, a bit weaker. His ability to defend on set pieces, his ability to match up with some of the best players in the league, which is not easy to do in 1v1 situations. And so I think both him and, a number of the other acquisitions that we made have had a good impact early on. So pleased with him, but with the group overall.
One of the things that's kind of been thrown out a lot here in the first 2 months has just been the chemistry of this group and just how well they've gelled together. And I'm curious, when you're going about adding this many types of guys, there's so much film you can watch, but how did you guys kind of go about assessing just kind of the personalities, and is chemistry something that like you guys care about when you're putting together a roster?
Yeah, of course. But as you said, sometimes that part of it, mentality part of it, personality, how's everything going to mesh? It's the most difficult thing to judge at times. I do think as a part of our process over the last year or two, we've made great strides in that in terms of the communication and the conversations, multiple conversations that we have with players, during that process. And that's a group and collective effort. And Phil's been great with that as well, to make sure that there's a connection early on as these players, are brought in. And it's not the easiest thing to do because some players are leaving their country for the first time. Some players don't speak the language. So that's a collective effort of our club. It's something that I feel that we do strongly. So we'll continue to try to improve on it. But I do think that there's been a refreshed feeling to the group. And I think you've even got players like a Diego Chara that's feeling young again with some of that newness as well, and some of the new players we brought in.
What's been your assessment of just the way the club's playing for these first 2 months?
Well, I would say, we had a major reality check the first game of the season. I always laugh because I've been through so many preseasons, and it's funny. You go down to Coachella, some of the preseason tournaments, and everyone's in a great mood. It's because no one's lost a game yet. The ball hasn't hit a post and gone in against you. You haven't gotten a red card 10 minutes into your opening game of the season. I felt like coming out of that game, for us, we had a great meeting about where we were at coming through preseason, what our major focuses were the next sort of 3 or 4 games, and then where we wanted to see ourselves 10 games into the season. I would say I'm really happy with the progress from that game 1 to where we're at now. I think we're seeing what the team is capable of, with still more upside, in my opinion. I think we've gotten some individual players settled into the group. We look more cohesive. And in a lot of ways, it's, at times for me, it almost looks easy for them. I think that there's an understanding and an unselfishness to the group right now, both sides of the ball. And I think it gives us something to build on as we go through what everybody knows is a pretty relentless season in MLS.
And Ed, we obviously know that Miguel Araujo has been sorting through visa stuff throughout the season. Just wondering if you could provide an update on him and his role with the club.
Yeah, and I know that's been a little bit unknown. We are in the process now of mutually agreeing, for Miguel to move on and take on a different sporting opportunity. We've tried hard here the last month or two to see that out so that he could hopefully receive the green card, which he's really close to doing as well. But we are in the process of that, and at some point here in the near future, that will be finalized.
Ned, I have a couple. Just picking back on Miguel. So he is still in the process of getting that green card. He's going to get that green card, even though you guys are parting ways.
We hope so. That's our belief and what we've tried to work with them together. But at the same time, we're in the process into which, he's no longer going to be on our roster or part of the club. He's back in Peru. He's been there now for quite a while, both with the national team and trying to see out this green card process, which we hope he's able to finalize.
Okay. Closing this window with the amount and the kind of moves that you guys did or did not was based on the analysis of the team is sufficient right now with what we have, or we are aiming to a better summer window, bigger movement, something like that, like getting ready for those kind of moves.
Well, I think, it's the window closes, right? And the job isn't done. It's never done. And the roster, as I always say, is a living, breathing thing. So we have to continue to assess that going forward. I think you could even look at an addition in the end of an Omir Fernandez. Some may question, is that needed? Is it necessary? We wanted to stay aggressive. It's a player that we've liked for some time. We see him fitting into our group and providing us another solid option with MLS experience. Now, as we go forward, I would say the goal for us, we head into the summer, for me, can we maybe add one top quality starting level player? I think that's what could potentially take this group, to the next level. We've done that. We have a player or two in mind that we will continue having conversations with as we head to the summer, but then we've obviously got to assess the group and how we're playing. Injuries, form, all those things as well. But I look at the amount of work that we've done and the players that we've brought in and how the group looks, take that with the connection of how much ability we have and the allocation funds that we have going forward. And I feel like we're set up for success. We just have to try to get those next one or two things right.
Last one from me. As you said, the window closes, but not the work of getting the team where you want it. Is contract year for David. And the rumor in Argentina that his camp is trying to make a move in the summer because it's the biggest window. How do you guys are working towards either preventing that or preparing for that?
Yeah. And you're speaking about Ayala. So,
Yes.
Yeah. So, first of all, he's having a phenomenal season. I speak about the young players, and there's an age attached to each player, but he doesn't play like a young kid, doesn't play like a 22-year-old player, along with some of the other players that we have. So he's been really, really important to what we do on both sides of the ball. It's great to see him healthy right now and contributing at a level that we always believed he could. We have started to look at his contract. We have begun some of those discussions to try to look at how we can further compensate him, keep him happy, and have him here with us in Portland. He's not out of contract, so we're looking to do that now to get ahead of it. But he is under contract through 2026. But he certainly deserves some recognition and an ability to look at those things together. He's always going to have some interest, especially back in Argentina. He was a big prospect as a younger player. And right now, I think people are seeing a midfield player that can do pretty much everything.
Hi, Dan. We were just talking about how deep this roster is with Adam yesterday on K2. How satisfied are you with your work so far this year with the changes of the club and how things have been going? And also, you were talking about this transfer window coming up in the summer, later months. What is something that stands out in this team right now that you think could be added? Thank you.
I think to the first question just about the depth, there's always a challenge, right? Because you could go and you try to build out a team as deep as you want, experienced as you want, but you also need players at times to buy into the role that they're in. And we've got some good players right now that haven't been playing as much in the beginning part of the season. We know that we're going to need them. We're getting into a really busy stretch here, and I think this is the stretch for us that can hopefully set us up, for the second half of the season, and feeling confident about the group and the options and a lot of players that we have. So it's a lot of credit to Phil and the coaching staff and the players for managing and for them buying in. As I said, for me right now, I see an unselfishness to the group, which is refreshing, I think, for everyone. And then just going forward, I think in terms of, where we would potentially look to add, that type of player, and it's not just that type of player. I think we'd like to look at a player that brings some leadership, has a presence to them. We'd look to do that in a few positions, to be honest with you. And then I think some of it might just be what's the best opportunity. We'll have to stay on our toes. We've constantly had teams reach out about some of our players as well, so we have to be prepared if there's a financially sensible decision that comes along as well for us to part ways with the player. But I just walked out of a meeting an hour ago with the full preparation for the next 3 months as well, so we're already well on our way.
Hi, Ned. You've already mentioned a little bit about the flexibility that this team could have in the summer window. Could you just expand on that a little bit more, especially with potentially $3 million of GAM coming in from the Evander sale to Cincinnati?
Yeah, and we actually didn't take $3 million on that. We only took 1.5. Part of that was because we felt like with the other funds that we had, we didn't necessarily need to. So where we stand at this moment is we still have $1 million in discretionary GAM. That's sitting there for the second half of the season. And then we've got about another 650,000 GAM as well as a part of that. Now, it's easy to think that the money just sits there and then you use it and you go into next year. You have to make all these things work and project out contracts, going forward. But we've got a team of 26 players, 27 players. We've got all of our 20 senior man roster slots filled. So the only thing that would have to happen is we would have to have a player depart, or we'd have to have an outgoing player to bring the next player in. But I don't see any real limitations in terms of us being able to bring in a top player, even potentially do another addition on top of that.
Talked a little bit about it, but just having such a young squad, it's no secret when clubs in Europe or other parts of the world are coming in, it's all about the age and the talent they've shown at the age. Does that make your job a little bit harder? And when those offers or interest does come, do you go to the player and gauge their interest, or is that solely on the club side to make the decision?
I think each situation is potentially unique, right? Because sometimes a club could reach out directly. Sometimes a player's agent might be the one that has been contacted and wants to have that discussion as well. I think in my role, what's challenging is, first and foremost, winning is important here. We want to win and we need to win. And yes, we could just get into a business of trying to locate and identify young, talented players, bring them in, and then move them on and sell them for a profit, which is a part of our, process. It's a part of what we want to do, but we want to win within that as well. So that's where I think the challenging decisions come in. At times does it take away that much from the winning, and does it make it that much sense to ultimately lose a player just because you would be seeing a return? But I think we've managed that pretty well, in my opinion. I think we've got a number of U22 players that we've brought in that have really, really done well. And when you look at it, if you can bring those players in and they can become really important starting level players for your team for the next 3, 4, 5 years, it makes the level of investment worth it. And I think we've got a handful of players right now. Look at Santi Moreno, when you look at Juan Mascara, when you look at David Ayala, when you look at Anthony, who's had a breakout season here the first 9 or 10 games. All of those young players are playing a really important role, and we need more from them as well.
Okay, we are going to wrap it there. Thanks for the time, Ned.
Okay,